Hello, Stallion Hawkchurch again. I'm not a big fan of social justice warriors in any way. But let's be honest, social justice warrior is a derogatory term that's meant to stereotype a type of person and maybe dismiss their argument and close down debate. Isn't it? In a similar way, if I was to criticise immigration or Islam, I would get called a xenophobe or an Islamophobe or just plain old racist by SJWs in an attempt to shame and silence me. Of course, there are very different consequences for being called an Islamophobe or a racist than being called an SJW. You don't get fired for calling someone an SJW, but an allegation of racism or Islamophobia, and your boss is going to have to take that seriously. It's a fairly lightweight tease poking fun at how seriously SJWs take their mission against all the things that they perceive wrong in the world: racism, sexism, transphobia. The list is endless. And if you take away the warrior part, which is really mocking them, you could call them social justice advocates, which is a much more neutral expression. It's much less of a problem than being called a right-winger even. Being called an SJW or a social justice advocate, it's a lot less problematic than being called a right-winger, which by current standards on the left really brands you as a total Nazi. I read somewhere that someone said it was harder to come out as gay than a conservative. Is an illustration of what I'm talking about. But this is not really what I wanted to talk about. It's the term social justice itself. Maybe it's me that's just ignorant. Maybe I've not taken this term and the concept of social justice seriously enough. So I thought I'd better take a look into this and get myself educated. Wikipedia, good a place as any to start, I guess. Social justice is a fair and just relation between the individual and society. This is measured by the explicit and tacit terms for distribution of wealth, opportunities for personal activity and social privileges. In Western, as in older Asian cultures, the concept of social justice has often referred to the process of ensuring that individuals fulfill the societal roles and receive what was their due from society. In current global grassroots movements for social justice, the emphasis has been on breaking the barriers for social mobility, the creation of safety nets, and economic justice. Okay, that just seems like a lot of waffle. It doesn't really tell me how this is going to work. Dictionary.com. Social justice, noun. The distribution of advantages and disadvantages within society. That tells me nothing though, does it really? It just tells me that there is a distribution of advantages and disadvantages within a society. Urban Dictionary. Social justice. Promoting tolerance, freedom and equality for all people, regardless of race, sex, orientation, national origin, handicap, etc. Except for white, straight, cisgender males. Fuck those guys. They're overprivileged no matter what. Hashtag die cis scum. Hashtag check your privilege. Ironically, the first half of that, promoting tolerance, freedom and equality for all people, regardless of race, sex, orientation, national origin, handicap, etc., is a good kind of definition, isn't it? But isn't that just wanting freedom and equality? You don't need a special term, social justice, to cover that, do you? No. I think what I need to do is find some practical applications of social justice so I can get a feeling for what it is like in action. So what I'm going to do is find someone who really knows their stuff, who's been advocating social justice for decades and will surely be an unquestionable expert on the definition of social justice. Let's go to Jeremy Corbyn.
Everyone for being here tonight, and say that tomorrow evening it will be my pleasure and my honour to host an event in Parliament where our friends from Hezbollah will be speaking. I'd also invited the friends from Hamas to come and speak as well. Unfortunately, the Israelis would not allow them to travel here, so it's going to be only friends from Hezbollah. So far as I'm concerned, that is absolutely the right function of using parliamentary facilities to invite people from other parts of the world so that we can promote that peace, that understanding.
So that bit has been aired many times, and I think Corbyn has said that he regrets calling Hamas and Hezbollah friends. But what is coming up next is more important, I think.
And that dialogue. And the idea that an organisation that is dedicated towards the good of the Palestinian people and bringing about long-term peace and social justice and political justice in the whole region should be labelled as a terrorist organisation.
So let's hear that again.
Dialogue. And the idea that an organisation that is dedicated towards the good of the Palestinian people and bringing about long-term peace and social justice and political justice in the whole region should be labelled as a terrorist organisation by the British government is really a big, big historical mistake. And
he's saying Hamas is dedicated to peace and social justice. Okay, well, let's look at Hamas, shall we? Well, Hamas came into power in 2007 in the Gaza Strip. Even if you think that they were democratically elected, they haven't had an election in 10 years. So I think we can rule out democratic from Jeremy Corbyn's definition of social justice. In 2014, Amnesty International issued a report in which it claimed Gaza Palestinians tortured, summarily killed by Hamas forces during the 2014 conflict. Muda Zaharan, a Jordanian Palestinian journalist, interviewed Palestinians living under Hamas rule at this time. And here are some of the statements he collected from Palestinians. If Hamas does not like you for any reason, all they have to do now is say you're a Mossad agent and kill you. A Fatah member in Gaza. Hamas wanted us butchered so it could win the media war against Israel, showing our dead children on TV, and then get money from Qatar. T Former Hamas military officer. They would fire rockets and then run away quickly, leaving us to face Israeli bombs for what they did. D. Gazan journalist. Hamas imposed a curfew. Anyone walking out in the streets was shot. That way people had to stay in their homes, even if they were about to get bombed. Hamas held the whole Gaza population as a human shield. K. Graduate student. The Israeli army allows supplies to come in and Hamas steals them. It seems even the Israelis care for us more than Hamas. E. First aid volunteer. We missed the security and calm Israel provided when it was here. S. Graduate of an American university, former Hamas sympathiser. And here is Fatih Ahmed, a Hamas MP, speaking in 2008 about using women, children and old people as human shields.
ولا يعلمون أن الشعب الفلسطيني قد طور من موته ومن بحثه على الموت ولذلك أصبح الموت عند الشعب الفلسطيني صناعة تجيده النساء تجيده كل من في هذه الأرض يجيده الشيوخ يجيده المجاهدون ويجيده الأطفال لذلك شكلوا دروعا بشرية من النساء والأطفال والشيوخ والمجاهدين ليتحدوا بذلك آلة القصف الصهيونية وكأنهم يقولون للعدو الصهيوني إننا نحرص على الموت كما تحرصون على الحياة.
So abusing your own people seems to be part of Jeremy Corbyn's definition of social justice. And I'm not going into the rights and wrongs of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, by the way. That's not my purpose here. I'm only using Hamas to illustrate a real-world application, according to Corbyn, of social justice. Now, I'm not saying this is the only time Jeremy Corbyn has mentioned or given an example or even defined social justice, but as he's continued with his support of Hamas, I can only assume his opinions are still the same and that he considers Hamas an organisation dedicated to social justice. It seems to me that Corbyn's concept of social justice can include getting rid of democracy and murdering and sacrificing your own people. Chilling, isn't it?